I don't remember if I've said this before or not, but regardless, I make the kinds of videos that I enjoy making, even if they end up going poorly in the algorithm. So today, I wanted to share my 2 cents on yet another song by Toni Basil, namely the obscure album track called Spacewalkin The Dog. To avoid copyright issues, this video will not use any clips of the song itself, as was also the case when I reviewed Toni's iconic Mickey song of 1982. I have since attempted to recreate Mickey using train horns as instruments, so make of that what you will. The background footage will, once again, include Metrolink trains on the San Bernardino line, recorded in Train Sim World 5, or some real-life rail activity from my home country of New Zealand, and maybe some clips of the Fancy Light Show in New Plymouth as well. This time, I mainly used nighttime footage because I think that goes well with the vibe of the song. There are 9 songs on Toni Basil's self-titled second album, released in December 1983, with Spacewalkin The Dog being track number 5. At 4 minutes and 23 seconds long, this is the second longest song on the album, if you don't count the extended versions of the 4 singles, namely Over My Head, Do You Wanna Dance, Street Beat, and Suspense. If you did include the extended versions, then Suspense would be the longest song, at 7 minutes. As an aside, Street Beat stands out from the others on this album thanks to its use of cadence drums, although, to be honest, I only have a basic understanding of what cadence drums are. While Street Beat is still a good number in its own right, Over My Head will always be my favourite song from the album, with Suspense being my second favourite. And to avoid getting sidetracked any further, I will now return to discussing Spacewalkin The Dog. If my research is correct, the song wasn't written by Toni herself, and I'm not aware of any other artists recording a version of their own. In any case, I interpret the song as being about someone who's fed up with everything and needs a change of scene. I can certainly relate to that feeling, although, in the case of this song, it's demonstrated with Toni singing about wanting to go up to outer space, presumably to live there, with only a random dog for company. The dog's name is never mentioned in the lyrics, but we'll call them Bessie just for the heck of it. I dare say the song is not meant to be taken seriously, and indeed, the idea of going for a walk in space with your dog certainly requires some suspension of disbelief, even from me, who prefers things to be grounded in reality. Ironically, Toni said nothing about owning a dog when she was on the Words That Move Me podcast with Dana Wilson, but she did mention that she has a quintet of cats instead. I had a chuckle at some of their names, especially Mr. Pumpkin the Orange Brat. My own cat, whose name is Maggie, may not be orange, but she too can be a brat sometimes, and much to my amusement, she was caught sitting on Mum's computer the other night. I just realised that I've got sidetracked again, so we'll return to the main topic of the video. As for the instrumentation on Spacewalkin The Dog, this is the main reason why I like the song, although it's not as high energy as the loud and booming Do You Wanna Dance. As another aside, I think that song is Madonna's Into the Groove done right. Meanwhile, Spacewalkin The Dog has a great overall sound that suits the theme of exploring outer space quite well, and one of the instruments, though I forget what it's called, sounds like something I'd expect to hear in a film or teleprogram about Hawaii. The percussion is clearly a drum machine. To be specific, I think it's a Linn drum, but I'm fine to be corrected if I'm wrong. Although I much prefer real drums, the Linn drum still suits the overall sound of Spacewalkin The Dog reasonably well. Come to think of it, it wasn't uncommon for early 80s new wave songs to use a drum machine. Case in point, Suddenly Last Summer by the Motels. As for Toni's vocal performance on the song, it's hard for me to review in depth since I'm not a singer myself, but I will say that, in my opinion, She sings these lyrics with a bit of sincerity, despite the rather unusual concept of wanting to move to outer space with only a dog for company. Now here's something I didn't realise until well into this review's production. To me at least, the overall sound of Spacewalkin The Dog is reminiscent of Together in Electric Dreams by Giorgio Moroder and Philip Oakey, although Together in Electric Dreams has a noticeably faster tempo. On a personal note, Spacewalkin The Dog has a special place in my heart and memory, because I associate it with the 13th of June 2025. For context, it was quite a cold night in the small town of Ohakune, and it didn't help that there were no lights under the railway station canopy. But listening to Go for the Burn and Spacewalkin The Dog made me feel a bit happier as I waited for 2 EF-class electric locomotives to show up with train 229. For reference, Go for the Burn is another song from Toni Basil's second album, and I quite like it despite not understanding what the title phrase, and the lyrics as a whole, actually mean. Regardless of the confusing lyrics, the music itself is actually pretty damn catchy. At the end of the day, and despite it being so obscure, not to mention the bizarre concept discussed in the lyrics, I consider Spacewalkin The Dog to be a good example of early 1980s new wave music, and I would easily recommend it to any other fans of that genre and era. The 1980s has long been my favourite decade for music, despite the fact that I'm a child of the early 2000s. Incidentally, this might be the last video about Toni Basil that I'll make for the time being. It's nothing personal against the woman herself, I just can't think of much more to say about her music that I haven't already said. And now that I've at least tried something different, I wanted to get back to focusing on my normal railway topics. It'll likely be a fair while before I try reviewing another song, be it from Toni Basil or some other artist. In any case, I think Toni Basil is very underrated, and I wish more people knew about her music, and career as a whole, beyond just the Mickey song. I'll leave a link to Spacewalkin The Dog in the description for anyone who'd like to check it out, and until next time, thank you all for watching.